Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'll do a review of this 2013 Toyota Sequoia. This is an SR5 two-wheel drive with about 110,000 miles on it. We are the only owners of it, so I'll tell you all the way from the beginning until now what we think of it. The big picture is we absolutely love it, and I strongly recommend this vehicle for some people, and I'll explain that to you. I'll also explain that it's got some great features on here that I'll show you how they work, and also a couple flaws on this vehicle, and I'll explain those to you as well. So let's start from the start. This is the same vehicle that Toyota has had since 2007. Right now I'm making this video in 2021, almost 2022, and this body style has been more or less the exact same engine, same transmission, and more or less body since 2007. Now here's what's, I think, kind of cool about it. Look, it's a good looking vehicle, and it was a good looking vehicle in 2007. It's a good looking vehicle in 2013, and in 2021, it's not like it's super outdated. Now, if you know and follow this vehicle, you say, hey, come on Toyota, like make some changes here. Let's bring it up to date. And we'll show some things on the inside that are kind of dated. My opinion is though, on the outside, I think it looks great. So again, it's a two-wheel drive. So I did put some BFG KO2s. These are fairly new. I did not increase the size that they came with, by the way. These are a 275/65 R18. And they're fantastic, by the way. These are really great tires. They're a little bit louder than what we had on there previously, which was basically a road tire, a Michelin road tire. In fact, I'll try to find a picture of those right now. So let's start from the start. Why did we pick this vehicle right here? Well, we have a family of 5. And the dog. The dog goes everywhere with us. I'll show you in the back that it's a perfect amount of room for a dog, and the back window going down, which I'll show you in a minute. But the real reason why we went with Toyota, because there are some other options in this large SUV category, right? The Suburban, probably one of the most popular. Also the Yukon XL, very, very popular. But I don't think you get the reliability out of those. And that's why we went with Toyota. Let's look under the hood. So this is Toyota's 5.7 liter V8. This is the same engine that they have been using since 2007 in this vehicle. Also, they use this for some of the other larger vehicles as well. This is the tried and true. We know it's bulletproof. We know it sounds great. What's the only fault in this engine? The gas mileage is not fantastic. There's no turbos. It's naturally aspirated. So the good news is it's ultra reliable. But the bad news is you get about 15 miles to the gallon, and maybe even a little bit less than that if you're towing or going slightly uphill or anything like that. But it's powerful. So if you need to tow something, what have you, it does the job. This is obviously mated to the, well, I say obviously, maybe it's not obvious, but this is mated to the 6-speed transmission. And again, it's more or less the same transmission that Toyota has been putting in these vehicles from 2007 until 2021, more or less the same. Now, the good thing on that transmission is, again, it's ultra reliable. It is extremely, let's just call it bulletproof, but it's a little tiny bit less than smooth. It's not the smoothest transmission ever. And when I'm driving this vehicle, especially like coming from a stop, you kind of learn how to sort of feather the pedal a little bit on the gas to almost help the transmission to be a little smoother. And I know that sounds a little bit ridiculous, but it's the same thing I do in my 2021 Tundra. And both those engines and transmissions are basically identical, and I drive them kind of the same. But the good news is, again, this thing has had absolutely no problems whatsoever as far as the engine and transmission go. It's 110,000 miles, which we'll assume with the Toyota that we're going to get that 110. And the whole idea of getting a Toyota is that let's see what the next 100, 150, maybe even 200,000 miles brings. So this is the SR5. We did upgrade this and have the fake leather put in. They call it like pleather, I don't know. It's almost like a plastic-like material. With 3 kids, our thought was that with the fabric seats that we would have the spills kind of going into the seats, but these are a really easy cleanup if the kids get sick or if they spill something, which happens on a regular basis. And that's been true. They are pretty easy to clean up. The bad news is the seats are not the most comfortable seats ever, especially for some reason the passenger seat. My wife and I like fight over who gets to drive on road trips because the passenger seat just feels a little bit uncomfortable. Is it a reason to not buy the vehicle? No, I'm not saying that, but it's a little bit uncomfortable. Another complaint, if we're going to complain, is that the head unit is pretty far from the driver. So I'm 6'1", and for me to reach over to this equipment over here, it's like an inch and a half too far, which doesn't sound like a lot, but you kind of have to move your body and your arm when you want to adjust the radio and do those kinds of things. Now, of course, it's a little bit outdated up here, but again, this is a 2007. This is an amazing vehicle if you're looking for something used. When we purchased this, it was $49,000. So as we're making our way to the back of the vehicle, boy, there's a few things back here that I absolutely love. Let's start with this back window. So we have a dog, and you can do this with the key, which I'll show you right here, but you can also do this just by holding this down. You can also do this with the, there's a button on the inside of the vehicle, but you can get into here right here, and then we can lift up the tailgate. By the way, you can lock and unlock that back door using that key, obviously, as well. And here's our nice space right here. And this is a really nice mat that came with the vehicle, but if we pull this out, get rid of it, you can look right here and we have the locations for the automatic seats going up and down. So we press one button, the seat comes up, and of course you can kind of configure it as you want. If you want to just put one person back here, or two or three, pretty nice. And here's the other thing, it's a fairly real seat. You can see right there, I mean, it's not the most legroom ever, but it's much, much better than most of its competitors as far as the seat space on the third row. Now, when we put that back down, and again, I'm just pushing our button right here. So another thing that's really nice is the amount of room in the back of this, which again, you get with the Suburban and you also get with the Yukon XL. Now be careful on some of them, because on some of the older vehicles, if you're looking for a used SUV, I assume that's why you're watching this, some of them, the third row pops all the way in or all the way out. And you can't, it's a lot of work to get to this configuration right here. These seats going down, automatically coming back up. It's really nice and convenient. Also, all three of these up here in the middle all fold down to almost flat. So you end up with basically a big pickup truck. As we continue to go around the vehicle, the top rack we have been putting on top here. Maybe I can find a picture of it. But we kind of have a top rack and then these big luggage bags that are super helpful with a family of 5 and a dog. And I have to say our packing skills are a little bit lacking. We seem to pack everything in the house, but it really has worked well for putting a rack on top here. And let me see if I can find a picture of that. So that's something to consider. I was almost thinking like a trailer, or I've seen the racks that kind of go behind the vehicle, but we needed a little bit more space than that. Here's the front of the vehicle. Again, I think it looks pretty good. My only complaint, see the chrome that kind of goes around the hood there. I wouldn't mind changing that out, but again, this is my wife's car, and honestly, I just don't know if I care enough to actually change something like that out. But if you were really wanted to make it sharp looking, I think that would be a nice thing to change out. Hey, here's something kind of cool when you go to get it in the vehicle. If you unlock it and just hold your key there, it will roll down both of the front windows as well as the sunroof and moonroof, whatever we're going to call that thing. So on a really hot day, you can open it up like this, let it kind of cool off a little bit. And if you do the same thing the opposite and hold down the lock, then everything will close back up. So coming into the inside of the vehicle, again, is it a little bit dated? Yeah, sure, you know, it is. Is it a big deal? I really don't think so. Everything's very functional. From the cup holders, air conditioning works fantastic. I mean, ice cold. Again, you saw that moonroof. It looks really, really nice in here. If you bump up to the limited edition, by the way, it comes with some wood trim that, in my opinion, if you want to talk about looking dated, that really looks like it is from the 90s or something like that. Even though, again, this is 2013, but the wood trim on the inside, you know, unless you have a really nice vehicle, I don't think that's the right way to go. I guess to each their own. I'll unlock the back and let's take a look back here. So these seats back here have an absolute ridiculous ton of room. And then we showed you that back right here, how that third row goes up. And again, it's got a pretty good amount of room for that third row. And even when you put the third row up, you still have enough room that you can put the dog back there, and well, that window rolls down as well. Coming down into here, there are air conditioning controllers for the back seats. These are some cup holders that pop down. We don't use them very much. They're all the way at your feet. So basically what happens is our kids end up kicking the cups of whatever's in there. And that really isn't the greatest design ever, at least for my family. So the color on this one is the magnetic gray, which is the same color, by the way, that I ended up getting my 2021 Tundra, Toyota Tundra in. And the new Tundra looks like it's a slightly different color, basically the same. But I'm not sure if it's just that this faded over the years or what. But let's talk about it for a second. So if you're looking for a used SUV and you have a family, here's what I would suggest. If you've got 2 people in your family, you and your wife, get a 4Runner. Don't get a Sequoia, right? You're gonna get better gas mileage. The 4Runners have the same reputation. They're gonna run forever, yada, yada. Maybe a little bit underpowered, by the way. And this is not underpowered, by the way. The Sequoia, I would say, is, if anything, it's got more than enough, almost too much. And the only reason I say too much is it's easy to kind of have fun with the acceleration, and I think you're just eating up fuel. But if you have 2 kids and you plan on having a 3rd, if you got a dog or 2 to kind of wheel around, but if you need the extra space, my opinion is you cannot go with a better full-size vehicle. This is it right here, Toyota Sequoia. If you're gonna get a used one, I strongly suggest that you do not go to the ones, the first generation. The first generation had a V8, slightly smaller than this, but my understanding is that one is an interference engine with a timing belt, which means that if the timing belt breaks, then you basically destroy your engine. This one right here has a timing chain. So with the timing chain, you really don't even have to think about it. Just make sure you change your oil on a regular basis. Also, the transmission fluid on this one right here, this is the sealed transmission. You don't have to do anything with it. That is such nonsense in my opinion. I changed the transmission fluid anyway, and I actually have a video that I'll put a link to at the end of this video, or you can subscribe to the channel and look under Toyota Sequoia and you'll see a link to that one right there. But so again, I would kind of roll that into, if you're gonna buy one of these used, I would be a little bit nervous if I was buying one with like 160 or 170,000 miles and I didn't know for sure that they had changed the transmission fluid. That's the only 2 things that I think are really gonna kill this vehicle, is if they do something silly or stupid with the engine or the transmission, meaning not changing the oil for 30,000 miles, that's gonna kill it. Or the transmission fluid, if they never change it and it's been, you know, 10 years and 160,000 miles, I think, yeah, you're gonna kill the bulletproof transmission. But if it's a family member, if it's somebody you trust that's been changing that transmission fluid, or if it only has like 90 or 100,000 miles, I'd still buy that one. And then the first thing I would do is do a transmission, just a drop and fill, and maybe do that like twice. I don't think you want to flush these transmissions. Make sure you know the difference. But if you just do a drop and fill and change about half of that fluid, and then maybe wait another 20 or 30,000 miles and do the same thing, drop it once or twice, so that you're not completely changing out the fluid, you're just kind of slowly putting in some new transmission fluid to it. And that's a whole conversation as well. I know you're probably lighting up the comments on that one. But all right, friends, hey, we'll wrap it up with this. Again, 2013 Toyota Sequoia. My opinion is it's such an amazing vehicle. My wife is saying, hey, the 2022 is gonna come out. It's supposed to be redone, or maybe the 2023 is gonna get redone. Can we get one? And I'm like, no, that's the whole reason you get the Sequoia, right? 110,000 miles on this. And I truly feel like this is just barely getting broken in. I betcha that as long as this doesn't get totaled in any kind of an accident, and I continue to do the same maintenance as far as oil, which I do every about 5,000 miles, and the recommendation is every 10,000. That's nonsense in my opinion. I do it about every 5,000. I use Mobil 1, full synthetic, and also on the transmission, as long as it's having that fluid changed on a somewhat regular basis, I would be shocked if this vehicle doesn't go 3, 4, maybe even 500,000 miles. So, all right, my friends, hey, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, do me a huge favor, hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and if you want to see some more videos on this Toyota Sequoia, like how to change the oil and the transmission fluid, subscribe to the channel and look under the playlist Toyota Sequoia. We'll see you next time, friends.